Hi, my name is Tati and welcome to my channel. Today we're doing a Q1 reading wrap up, so we're going to talk about all the books that I have read since January into February and March. Honestly, this really was just an excuse that I could show you my reading journal. Wait, I am a little shy about my reading journal, so be nice. But this really is a DIY project. I didn't even get a new journal for this. I literally picked up a half written in journal, flipped to the next page and was like, boom, reading journal. So be nice to me. But we'll get into the journal part a little bit later when we update like the stats and all that stuff. But yes, we're going to focus on the 9 books that I have read since January. I realized that out of the 9 books that I have read these last 3 months, I only own 2 of them. And that's because I have really been taking advantage of Libby and the library access that I have. So that has been very nice on my wallets. Okay, so let's hop into the wrap up. I use Fable as my reading tracking app. So they have a little reader summary here. It says, I'm an enchanted reader. Magical worlds and passionate romance abound on your reading list. Your stories illuminate our experiences with the spark of magic. That sound like me, period. My most read genre so far has been romance and then quickly followed up by fantasy. And I've really been in my fantasy bag, but all of those have been fantasy romances. And then 1 literary fiction book. Sounds about right. My most read authors this year is just Sarah J. Maas. The lady, listen, the lady can write a book. And I just got here. I had so much to catch up on. The first book that I finished in January was Fable by R.F. Kuang. Fable is set in the 1800s and it follows Robin Swift, who is an orphan from Canton, and he was brought over to London and raised by Professor Lavelle, who works at Oxford, and they have a translation program where they literally, like, they're translating words. He raises Robin learning a whole bunch of different languages so that one day when he gets old enough, Robin can go into Oxford's translation program. And translation basically powers their entire city. Translating one word to another, it's imbued into these metal rods, it powers all of London. So then there's like a whole little revolution talk happening, and Robin gets caught up in it, and the story is like Robin coming to that realization and what he chooses to do with all of this knowledge. We started off January very strong. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I loved the character trajectory, the arc of Robin, who he is in the beginning of this book and who he is at the end of the book. Completely different people, and it's all completely justified because we're in that boy's mind. We are right here with him. And we see every little notch that is like chiseled, every little nick that is taken out of him that turns him from the person that he wanted to be, who he thought he was going to be, into the person he actually becomes. Also, from the side of the revolution, we're hearing all of these different conversations about, are we doing too much? Are we not doing enough? There's one person in the corner be like, we need to burn down the whole city. And the other person who's like, can't we just write a strongly worded letter? Like starting a revolution. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. It was a little heavy on my spirit, but I really enjoyed it. Sometimes it did read a little textbooky. Mind you, I listened to the audiobook. It took me so long to get through this audiobook. I even got kind of like the benefit of listening to it in the audiobook because the narrator would stop whenever there was a footnote and add the information in that moment. Whereas even though I'm not seeing the physical book, so like don't come for me, I'm pretty sure that the footnotes are treated like footnotes, and it's either at the bottom of the page or you gotta go to like the back of the book to find out like what that footnote was. So you have to like stop what you're doing and go look for the information so that you can get the context. And in the audiobook I didn't have to do that. The next 2 books that I read in January kind of go hand in hand. I finished Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros and Zayden's POV of Fourth Wing, which is a fanfic. Yeah, this was my first 5-star read of the year. Onyx Storm, full 5 stars from me. Onyx Storm is the 3rd book in the Empyrean series. So you got Fourth Wing, you got Iron Flame, you got Onyx Storm. I was on an emotional roller coaster with this one right here. One moment I think we about to live happily ever after, then the next moment everything's crashing down, and then it looks like we're coming up with a solution for it, and then we find out why the solution doesn't work, and then we just getting all this information
still 3 books in, we still getting all this information. It was very fun, and all I gotta say is I almost cried when whatever happened with Andarna. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, you need to get on it. Also in January, we had our very first DNF and it was A Man Called Uva. Like, reading that book, it was kind of boring. And then my plan was to like read the book and then watch the movie on that, and then I made it just about halfway through it, and I was like, bump this, man. I'm gonna just watch the movie. Watched the movie, cried a little bit, and was like, I'm good. Returned the book promptly to the library. So now here we come to February. I got my very first arc. Yay! I got an e-arc for Written on Ice by Smartalyn S. So this is a romance, but it's got hockey, it's got figure skating, and both of the main characters are black or black adjacent. So it follows Luna, who is a first-year college student at Valseer University. It's a lot on her plate because she's a figure skater. She's tall. Apparently figure skaters not supposed to be tall. She's black. Apparently figure skaters not supposed to be black. She's poor, and everybody at this college is rich. So like, it's just a lot piling on her. And then she comes in contact with Zayden. Hey, I didn't name the characters. But she comes in contact with Zayden, who is like this star hockey player, and she, right off rip, she don't like him. She's like, he's arrogant, he think he all that, and I'm not really messing with that. She ends up messing with that, okay? And then also there's like a little bit of a mystery, whodunit element, what was done element. I gave this book 3 stars. It was just okay. The story was interesting enough. It kept me engaged. I finished the whole thing in 2 days. The romance kind of pops up out of nowhere. It's like one day we're like, I hate you, and then that same day he's picking her up in his arms and whisking her off because she's not feeling well, and creating this whole elaborate weekend to make her feel better. And I'm like, y'all they're not even together at this point. They're still in the I don't like you phase, and you're doing that? Doesn't make any sense. Now everybody else thinks she's kidnapped because she ran off with this dude she say she don't like. It was weird. But like, part of me is a little bit like, oh, they're in college, so of course they're a little like impulsive, whatever. But it was weird. The two things just didn't align. The next book that I read in February was Twisted by Emily McIntyre. I'm thinking this about to be some just like generic, run-of-the-mill, extra little spicy fairy tale retelling. It's just gonna be them in a different situation. No, babes. That's not what it's about. So we have Yasmin, who is Jasmine, and she is the daughter of this guy who is not a king, but he is the like CEO and owner of a jewelry diamond business. And then the Jafar character, his name is Julian. He's kind of like the right-hand man with the dad in this business, but he's very like shady, you know? Yasmin's dad is sick. He on his deathbed, and his final wish is that Yasmin marry the guy that he chooses so that he can pass on his business down to this guy. And that don't sit right with Julian because he's been the guy who's been working with him and building this business this whole time. And he's like, okay, well, like, why is it not me? Why are we trying to find some mysterious third person to give a business to? The dad also will not give Yasmin the business because she's a woman. So there's that. But Yasmin is in love with Aiden, who is the son of one of her housekeeper, who's the housekeeper from when she was little. She grew up with him and they fell in love, and they have been in a secret relationship for a few years. And Aiden keeps being like, hey, Yasmin, you need to tell your dad about us. And she's like, oh, no, I will. And then we get to this point, he's like, well, your daddy is about to be dead, so you should go ahead and tell him. And she's like, no, that'll just kill him. So then Julian goes, guess what? You and me, Yasmin, we're getting married because I want this business. And I will say that there is nothing about this book that gives Aladdin any further than the similarities somewhat in their names. I really enjoyed myself. I had a great time. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was a good time. Baby, there was character development in the story. There was plot in this story. There was a whole lot of spice, but there was plot and character development on top of that. Julian, you know, very wound up guy. He had a hard life. Yasmin did her due diligence in chipping away at that really tough exterior. He was like, listen, we not going no further until you tell me I'm yours. And she's like, I can't tell you that I'm yours, that you're mine and I'm yours because I love Aiden. And he's like, do you love Aiden? And she was like,
I think that was a fun one. Now we're into March, y'all. The first book that I read in March was A Court of Silver Flames. Talk about extra spicy, to the point where I was like, do we need another one of these scenes? This right here was my next 5-star read of the year. It follows Nesta's journey with her dealing with everything that happened in the aftermath of everything that went on in the rest of them ACOTAR books. And if you ain't read the ACOTAR books, like, I suggest reading the ACOTAR books. We're following how Nesta is dealing with it, and spoiler alert, she's not dealing with it well. It's not going well for her. I loved this book down. The very first book, I was like, I hate Nesta. She's awful. Like a garbage person. Can't stand her. By the halfway point of this book, I was like, oh my god, I love Nesta. I only want the best for her. I really could connect with her because sis was down bad, beaten, crushed, under the weight of life. Her trajectory and her regrowth and her strengthening and rebuilding throughout the course of this book, like, that girl, she really rose like a phoenix from the ashes. So coming off the high of A Court of Silver Flames, the goal is that we stay up here on this high. The reality is we didn't. The next book I read was Guild by Raven Kennedy. What was that? I don't remember the book much. I just remember, like, that it was too long. And I don't even think the book is that many pages, but it just went on for way too long. So Guild is a fairy tale retelling of King Midas, but it focuses on Orin, who was touched by King Midas and became gold herself. Like, she's still a person, but she's gold. And he has her as one of his possessions. And sis is down bad for him. She loves that man. My man, my man, my man. Hate to say it, it is pathetic. I felt so annoyed listening, another audiobook, listening to this story, because it was just like, girl, like, get up. This man is constantly walking around showing you he don't care about you, and you're just like, he's had a rough day. That man loves me more than he loves everybody else, as he's walking around giving everybody else love, and she gets nothing. Orin has the loyalty of a samurai. I will give her that. Sis is a special breed. Also, when I say that this book is too long, I mean Miss Raven Kennedy, she will take the smallest, most minute moment and stretch it for an entire paragraph. Literally, there are moments in that book that are like, as I looked outside, the sky was this, the ground was this, the air was this, the trees were this, and then I felt this. And I'm like, ma'am, okay, we get it. Why do we spend 3 paragraphs on a split second moment? So Guild, 2.5 stars. So then to round it all out, the last book that I finished in March was the first Crescent City book, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. Crescent City follows Bryce Quinlan, who is half human, half fae. Bryce lives in the Crescent City, Lunathion, with her friends, and then something very catastrophic happens in her life. She ends up teaming up with Hunt Athalar, who is basically, he's part of like the police in Lunathion, and the two of them are working together to solve this little mystery or whatever happened in the city. And this one was kind of fun. Also, listen to the graphic audio version of this one, and I gave it 4.5 stars. The banter between Bryce and Hunt is mad cute, like super cute. Also, Bryce's attitude. My favorite thing is anybody could get it. It don't matter if you are the high king of the whoever or you the lowest person on the ground. Y'all all can catch this attitude. And it's very funny. Like, sis is hilarious. When I put this journal together, I had put like a yearly TBR on there, so there's like 12 books on there that I would like to read this year. I'm terrible about keeping up with an actual TBR because we really have been just reading off of vibes here. Literally just scrolling on Libby, seeing what's available, and then clicking, and that is what I'm listening to. So far, we have completed 2 of those books on this list, which I'm not really too worried about because we still got 9 months left of this year. So I'm not in so much of a hurry to do that. For my series tracker, I have officially finished all of the current released books in the ACOTAR series. I have completed the 3 books that are out for the Fourth Wing series, but I have not made any progress on any of the other series. Instead, I have started more series, which I haven't put in here yet, but at some point
I will add that to the journal. Onyx Storm was my favorite read for January, and Avatar Fire and Ash was my favorite movie that I watched in January. For February, we did not have a favorite book, but my favorite movie that I went and saw was Solo Mio. And then my favorite read of March was A Court of Silver Flames. It seems like after every single month I add like another element to this journal. So after January, I added the A to Z challenge. So I have A Court of Silver Flames, Fable, Guild, House of Earth and Blood, Onyx Storm, Twisted, Written on Ice, and Zayden's POV. After February, I added Book Bingo. And this one is actually really fun because I made all of these little squares to label all of like the different prompts for it. So at this point, we have completed the red book prompt, which was House of Earth and Blood. We've completed the arc prompt, which was Written on Ice. We completed the over 600 pages prompt, which was A Court of Silver Flames. We have completed the one word title prompt, which is Babel. The audiobook prompt, which was Twisted. The DNF prompt was A Man Called Uva. I don't know if you can see that. But after March, I added the Cinema Showdown, which is just doing like a little ranking system for all the movies that I'm watching this year. So far we have filled out January, February, and March, and it's just like I picked like the favorite one or the only one that I've watched that month. So January was Avatar Fire and Ash, February was Solo Mio, and then March, Project Hail Mary. Even though I finished that book in April, I'm like, the book came out in March and I'm got another movie for April. I've got too many options for April. And then here we have the quarter one wrap up page. In total, we finished 8 books for quarter one. And then the genres on Fable, don't combine them. So like the same book could be one for romance and then one for fantasy and then one for thriller if it has all those things. So I'm not sure which book is which. So in order to narrow it down for myself, I separated into romance, romantasy, fantasy, and fiction. So we had 2 romance books, 4 romantasy books, 1 fantasy book, and 1 fiction. My favorite book of the quarter was A Court of Silver Flames. My reading goal for this year is 40 books. Last year when I started reading in August, by the end of the year I made it to 20. So I'm like, well, now I have the entire year. Let's try to double it and do 40. So we have completed 8 out of 40 books in total, which gives us 20% progress, which I feel like is a good place to be for the first quarter of the year. I've listened to audiobooks for a total of 80 hours, and my average star rating is 4.2. For my yearly TBR, I completed 2 out of the 12 books that I had set for myself. That's all, folks. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please like the video if you liked it. Comment down below. Tell me what your favorite reads for the first quarter is. And support a Black-owned business, baby. Subscribe to my channel. Bye.